Alright, it's a new day. Still doing this. It's probably 2 weeks later. John's still off scuba diving or whatever he's doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this gear train off. I think what I'm gonna do is this gear comes off, 4 of these bolts hold this side of the injection pump on, and then there's some more bolts holding it onto the side of the block. I'm gonna get this whole pump off, take the rest of this gear train off, get this intermediate plate, and we can flip the engine. All this stuff over here is oil filter and stuff. I think I'm gonna leave that for now, because if we can get the block laid down on this side of the engine, fewer gaskets we disturb, the better. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this stuff off, and then see what's what. This is something I probably should do with an impact, but I'm gonna try just hitting the wrench with a hammer. You have to be worried when you do stuff like this that you're not shocking the teeth on the gear, the rest of the gear train, which is absolutely going to be happening right now. So a better thing to do is, instead of just hitting it and shocking it, is to take a rag. If you can take a rag and kind of jam it into the gear train. That'll help cushion a little bit, and it'll keep it from rotating. Of course, now you have to worry about the forces trying to splay these gears apart. There's plenty of meat in here, so I'm not worried about that. But that's something to consider. So. Let's see how hard this comes off. You're tempted to smack on this, but that's poor practice. What I really should do is get a puller in here. It looks like there's 2 bolt holes here that I can get on. I'm gonna see if I have a puller to do that. These sort of projects, it's important to have some of the right tools. So we got different kinds of pullers and stuff. So I'll see if I can get some bolts to match up. They look like 3/8 coarse. Maybe 3/8 fine. Definitely. One. Oof. Times like this, I'm backing this puller way out, so you only have a couple threads engaged there. Rule of thumb is you want, at least your first 3 threads engaged, on your part. 3 turns of whatever bolt it is, because common knowledge, whatever we want to call it, is that the first 3 threads of any bolt take up 90% of the axial load. So as long as you get 3 in there, you should be pretty strong. Of course, you're dealing with other issues. I mean, ideally you want the full thread engagement whenever you're doing something. I organized all my bolts and then I dropped them all over the place, so they're no longer organized. I can see it jumping a little bit each time. It's on there pretty tight. See if I can get the camera in there to show you. Disregard the fact that the puller is way off at a cattywampus angle. If I get it kind of tight on there, and then tap it, you can kind of see it jump. See? It's on there tight, which means it probably has to get frozen on, or the key is a little messed up. See, popping like that. And here I thought I was going to pull it off by hand. Shaft looks good. There's no galling, so that pulled off good. And go ahead and get these 4 off. Oh boy. Seeing a bearing, it might be on that plate a little bit. It might make sense to pull this intermediate plate off first, pull those 2 gears, and then pull this plate off before I take the injection pump off, because I don't want to get the supporting bolts off and then have it hang up on this bearing, or anything else for that matter. Let's go ahead, I'll get these 2 bolts out. Hopefully this gear comes off without a fight. Alright, we're looking in at this idler here. I have a feeling that there's, because this is just free floating, you can see the bushing, this is the pin it's riding on. I'm pretty sure these 2 bolts are keepers that are, or I was holding a keeper that's dealing with the axial movement of this idler. So I think I got to reach in here, get those 2 bolts off, and pull the whole cover off. Which, again, everything's got these bend over locks, which are important. I mean, think of like a 12 valve Cummins where they always have that issue with there's a dowel pin somewhere in their front gear train that can work its way out and jam everything up. Not a problem you see in Caterpillar engines, or at least not that I'm aware of. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get these out of here. Right. There we go. So it was just a keeper that kind of rode right in that groove there. Get everything out without losing it. Alright. Hopefully I can get this cam gear off relatively easily. I don't know if I can really reach my pullers in there, and it doesn't have provisions like the injection gear had. It's on there tight. Let's see what happens. Oh, you know what I see is the same sort of arrangement we had on the idler. Good thing I couldn't fit the puller in there because I would have caused some issues. Same sort of keeper. See, again, this is something I could be reading the book. Why am I doing this without reading the book? I guess this makes sense too because there's no cam button or anything to deal with axial float on the cam unless... Oop. Oh, here comes a little camshaft. Looks like I'm putting the puller on there anyway. Well, let's see. I might be able to get the whole cam out. I believe all the lifters are... No, they're not. See if I can pull the lifters out. There's a chance they're going to be stuck in there. Nope, they came out. There's a chance... Ooh, see, this is why you pull the engine apart. See that rust buildup on the end of that lifter? That's something you gotta clean up, otherwise you're gonna eat right through a cam lobe. See, this, I'm glad we pull it apart. This is why you do that. But yeah, it was sitting up there on the cam lobe for so long, it's rusted a line across it. You have to be worried sometimes, especially on like small block Chevys, something like that. There's a slight crown to those lifters, so they'll spin in the bore each time it goes up and down on the cam lobe, and it'll wear the edge of the lifter, so it'll kind of mushroom a little bit of material out, and if you go to pull it out of the cam bore through the top of the block on a very worn engine, you can score your lifter bores, because they'll get jammed in there. So what you have to do is take the cam out and push them down through the block, you know, probably replace your lifters, or at least take that little bit of a burr off or whatever built up, you know. I was worried that was going to be the case here, where I'd have to take the cam out, drop the lifters down. Of course, you can't get the cam out if the lifters are getting caught on the lobes every, you know, inch. But good, let's, I'll set up the camera, I'll show you down the lifter pockets and pulling the lifters up and out. So this is something on number 3. So I'm going to leave these in order. Of course, I want these matched back to the lobe. Even though we're going to be reconditioning the face of that, you really want to keep these matched to its existing lifter. So now I got the camera set up, looking down into this lifter pocket. I have my phone sitting here for the flashlight to try to get some illumination down there. You can just see, you know, these dark circles. Those are the lifters. It looks like there's something down inside that one. Let's see if I can get this to focus down in there. This is as good as I'm going to get. You can see there's some shmoo down in there, and they're both at bottom dead center, or, you know, at the base circle of the cam lobe. And I can't get down there. I got long needle nose pliers. I can't reach down there and grab anything, so what I'll do is rotate the cam gear, hopefully, without knocking everything over. I'll rotate the cam gear and wait for one of those to pick up onto the lifter, hopefully. Oh, see, that right one's up now. So you can reach down there, pull it up out the needle nose pliers. And it looks like there's dirt, a stone. This is why you pull engines apart. Whatever made its way down, I mean, this wasn't going to get out with just a diesel, you know, flush it out with kerosene or whatever. All this shit is something you got to worry about. This is why you take it apart, clean it. You know, you're starting from ground, you know, from good foundation. You don't build a castle on sand. That's the whole point. Let's rotate this one and see if I can get... There we go. Can't see. Hitting something. Oh, it's just the side of the block with the pliers. So you can see here, oop, see that ring? If I can get it to focus on that. It's hard on the shiny surface. So there's a ring in there of wear, and what that's from is, you know, this is kind of offset on that lobe a little bit, so these will tend to spin as well. They might be crowned, they might not be. They look flat to me. We'll see when we go to polish them back up. But yeah, I'm going to do that on all the other lifters and then pull the cam out, probably with the gear intact, or the gear on it, because there's no sense in pulling the cam gear if it's going to be a bear to put back on. While I'm up here, I may as well pull this lifting bar off. I don't think we're going to use it again in this configuration. So I'll get it up here out of my way, and then end up putting it back on in about 15 minutes, because that's how things go. I also didn't realize my bar was hitting the dowel pin at the end of the block here. So it was stood up on that. It looks like we're okay. We didn't damage anything. But we'll go ahead, get the rest of these lifters out. There you go, that works too. I'm spreading the needles apart, that way I don't get to rotate the cam. Oh boy. Oh boy. These last two are looking unhappy. I might be able to get the cam out. Let's read the book. All right, I got the cam ready to come out. What you want to be careful here is that the lobes aren't scoring the bearings as they go by. So you kind of gotta be very gentle. Yep. The bearings felt good coming out, meaning that these felt tight, so, and they don't look like they're scored or anything. Cam bearings typically are one of the last things to go, usually. But this is an issue. See, this buildup, I mean, this should clean up. I'm not super worried about. They don't look like they're worn. It wasn't run in any condition with the rust in it, but the rust is just from sitting. This is what happens if you get any oil down in your pan. You know, you go through the whole water cycle inside your engine, where it'll evaporate, condense on the lifter, you know, valve, train, the top, rain back down to the bottom of the pan, heat up, condense, you know. You basically get a rainforest inside your engine if you get any water in there, which this one was the Titanic, so honestly, I'm surprised it looks this good. I mean, the bottom half of this can is pristine. I'd throw this back in there, but very glad we pulled this apart. Well, cam's out. Gonna have to work on those lifters. Cam bearings look good, at least Disassembling does. I wonder if those lifters will push down. Yeah, I mean, there's some shmoo in there. Let's see, where did the brass piece go? I'm looking right at it. What do I do with it? Really, there's no good way of doing this, because, you know, 6 one way, half dozen the other. You gotta push that rusty through the bore one way, it doesn't matter. So, however you can get them out. Going down through the cylinder to grab them. And they're in rough shape. This is, like I said, they look serviceable after some cleaning, but no way in hell. I mean, if we did the first oil change and saw what was going to be in the filter after we ran this, we would have been sick having put new parts into it just to have that show up in the bottom of the pan again. Not good. That's how you lose. I said it before, but the bearing clearances in these engines are bad to begin with. So you start running what is effectively grinding paste through your oil system. It is, you know, scenario for destruction. Also, I learned when I read in the book, you know, as I get off my milk crate here preaching, I read in the book that we don't have to pull they call that the auxiliary drive. That gear didn't have to be pulled off. So, if I would have read the book, that would have been a step ahead, but here I am. Let's get the rest of this intermediate plate off the front of the engine, then get the injection pump off. It's just more of the same, bunch of captive bolts, or not captive, but fold over locks, we call them. This is a sort of project, if I had a laser cutter, I could do real thin plate like this, make these fold over locks, you know, make the whole new set for the whole engine. That way I'm not dealing with any concerns of work hardening, and I'd be able to make all the gaskets pretty much, you know, it'd be trivial. I don't have a laser cutter. It's all going to be done by hand, so it's a lot of work. Probably end up reusing all the fold over locks, or the vast majority of them. Boy, that's tight. That is not this part of the balancer. You can leave the balancers in right now. Oh, it is a fold over. I was thinking to myself, this bolt doesn't have a lock on it because it's not paired up with another bolt. They use one that hooks around the inside. Very smart. These Caterpillar guys. There we go. Boy. Oh, what is in there? Jesus. That must go through the water jacket or something. It's the only one that's... Actually, all these got a little bit of rust in them, which is surprising. I would have thought that there'd be enough oil infiltration past the bolt head to get into the threads and keep them all lubricated. It appears that's not the case. See, some of these got oil coming right out of them. Threads don't look good in that bolt. They look okay, not great. Alright, I'm thinking that's everything. And it's probably going to be frozen on those dowels, and whatever gasket's behind it is going to be like cement. I'm also always worried taking a thin sheet like this off, where you bend it and then it never seals right again. frozen on those dowels. A little bit of Scotch-Brite. Try to polish off any corrosion build up. There we go. And that pin even started moving. This stuff is just dead mice. Jesus Christ. I hate getting dirt on everything, but I think we're done with the front of the motor. Let's get that injection pump off. I think it should just be held up by a couple of bolts on the side. I don't want to split it if I don't have to, between the front and the back half. So on this side, there's one bolt here that's keeping the drain lines on. That I'll have to take off, and it looks like that's going to be the hardest one. And then there's just two holding this bracket on, and I think that's what's holding this whole pump up in the air right now. So I'm going to go ahead, try to get that bolt off. It looks bad. Not too bad. Just caked in rust. It's on the bottom of the engine. Here's a thought. I don't know if it's better to be taking apart an engine that leaked like a sieve, so that everything's caked in oil and they come off easier. But then you're also working through a bunch of grime, because an engine that didn't leak, everything's just rusted on there so hard you can't get it out, you end up breaking all the bolts off. I don't know which one's better. You know, it's a pick your poison, I guess. It's these two bolts here, I hope you can see them. Yep, there it comes. Let's see. Oh, there's also a feed line back here I gotta take off. It's the sort of thing you gotta really look out for, because these little fuel lines will twist right off on you. And then you're stuck holding a 100-pound pump while you're trying to finagle a line off with your other, pinky toe or whatever. There we are. And then one bolt. What do I do with my breaker bar? Let's see if I can get this up on one hip. With my there we go. Whew. I wonder how much that weighs. Oh, we're down to pretty much a bare block. I mean, there's some stuff on the other side, but hopefully I can get this thing up sideways, probably on the same stand. I'm out of breath. Get it sideways and then pull the crank out. I should really find a clean spot to put that. So yeah, let me clean up real fast. Got all this stuff a little bit cleaned up. Hoist is in here. I'm thinking now I can probably extend this out a little bit. Now this thing's a little bit lighter. I don't know what the bare block weighs, but yeah, it can't, probably not more than, no more than 500 pounds, I guess. So we can probably get this out a little further. I don't know how I'm gonna rig this. If you guys want to give me a hand, that'd be nice. You know, don't just stand there. But I don't know. I gotta rig it somehow so I can kind of scoop it up like this. I don't know if I want to use that spreader bar across the deck again, because if I start there, I'm going to be swinging the center of gravity way out over one of these legs, and that's not fun. So really, I think I might tie something through here, that area. I don't know. You know, this stuff's probably going to have to come off the motor anyway at some point, because I'd like to get this side axis plate off just for cleaning purposes. So at least the oil filter and the oil feed or return or whatever that is, that's going to have to come off. Honestly, I think if I put that spreader bar back on and I put a chain off of it, I hook to that chain, and then I can rotate it and set it down. I think that's what I'll do. Here we go, putting the spreader bar back on. It's fine. Cables off one side. Double. At least it makes sense that I pulled it off, because now I can move it. Yeah, that's what you tell yourself. Thinking, yeah. My eye hook, the stud on the end of it's longer than the edge of this C channel, so I don't want to pull this down tight to the deck and risk jamming this in there and leaving an indent. So I'm going to leave these bolts a little loose, which is horrible practice, but that's what I'm going to do. Right. Will I have chains? Get around. Yeah, I'll leave that leg where it is. This should be okay. At some point here I gotta go change my dryer, or put my clothes in the dryer. Oh, how much time's left on that battery? I have this lifting chain. It looks like it came out of a swamp. That would be nice. If I just bolt this right onto the deck. It's going to be very tall though. Might work. This might be, I'm going to go with this route.
Alright, so I was editing this video, and it looks like Tom doesn't have any footage of him actually pulling the crank out. I texted him, see if he had any more video on his computer, and he doesn't think so. And we don't think there's any on any SD cards either. I just checked through the SD cards I have here. There's nothing. So I want you just to imagine what it would look like if the engine was actually picked up by the hoist, rotated 90 degrees, and set down. And then Tom probably had to take some bolts out of some of the caps because I don't think they were all out, and then took those off, and then took the crank out, struggled to get it to a bench because it's really heavy, probably made a comment about how heavy it was, and then we'll cut to the next clip where he's polishing it. Sound good?
I got the crank set up in the lathe. We got to polish these journals out. A few months ago I went through and I polished a couple of them. I think that one and maybe that crank pin there. It's been a while, but the idea is just to get rid of some of this build up from the old bearings. This is actually a raised section. It's not a groove that you're seeing. It's Babbitt that was transferred onto the crank. We're just gonna clean all that up, get rid of any of this surface, just superficial rusting that was on here, staining. But to do this, I don't have an actual polisher. I just bought some of this double-backed 1000 grit sandpaper, and I folded it over onto itself. So it's, kind of a band. And what I'll do is feed that around the crank as it spins in low gear and just, slowly polish out really light stuff. This is just to clean it, basically, and to get us back to a smooth surface. So, yeah, let's set up and do that. Alright, that kind of shows you, after the fact, we're pretty smooth everywhere. There's still low spots. You know, you can see, it looks like those rings in here. It's hard to show up on camera because it's so shiny. But there's some low spots where it was pitted a little bit. I'm not going to try to chase those, that'll just fill with oil. Same thing with these grooves. That shouldn't affect anything. Most of the crank pins, though, look like they cleaned up really well. The mains, what must have been what collected any of the water. Overall, I think we're in pretty good shape. We'll measure it one more time, of course, and you know, check oil clearances against the installed bearings too. So as long as all that checks out, we should be okay with the crank.
Alright, John again. So I think I gotta wrap up the video here. It's just getting really long. There is a ton of footage on this motor and Bulldozer and everything, so working my way through it, trying to keep things around a half hour. This one's definitely going to be longer than that, but anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.